Yeah.
You're back. It's not just about me.
No, it's always about you.
Only on Wednesday mornings.
No, it's always about you.
It's always about me?
Yeah.
I thought I just took up like the 8:30 slot to the 9 slot.
No.
Right before Tradio. And the only reason people listen to me is because I'm right before Tradio.
No, I think they listen to you because you speak some good things.
Well, I hope to bring, some value to Wired Wednesday and keeping the community connected with all the things that Iron County and really Southern Utah does.
Okay, I have a new goal for you.
All right.
You need to get us a Chick-fil-A.
A Chick-fil-A.
That-
We have a Chick-fil-A.
That one,
Isn't
no,
it
doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Okay.
If you have to get out of the car, it doesn't count.
Ah, okay. I think we can work on that. Because we need more things on the north end of town.
Yes, we do.
And I would say that there are some developments on the north end of town. I don't know privy to any of the specific things going on.
Oh,
but
the
I know
Horton out there would go crazy for a Chick-fil-A. They go,
well, right, yeah. I mean, like, hey.
Hey, look how...
And, like, we need a second Costa Vida because I ain't waiting in line for 35 minutes.
Oh, I know. It's getting crazy.
Let's get real. Anyways, all right. Welcome back to Wired Wednesday. This is McKinnon Hansen, host of the Wired Wednesday show, keeping this community connected. And today it's really fun. I have Kyle Wilson in from Enterprise, and he is just a well-rounded wealth of knowledge in agriculture and what the state of Utah is doing versus what Southern Utah is doing in getting and becoming better within agriculture and what that looks like. So without further ado, Kyle, how are you doing this morning?
I'm pretty good. It's great to be here.
You can move the mic. It's allowed. I move mine everywhere. So there's been a lot of ag transition in Southern Utah over the last, 6 months to the last 50 years. We used to go from you had to grow everything you consumed in your backyard, right? And with the help of farmers and the help of Southern Utah specifically, we've kind of moved away from that.
Yeah, back in 1960, a farmer fed about 25 people, whereas today a farmer feeds about 155 people. So we're getting way better at what we do.
And it's incredible to really grasp that 25 versus 155 people. In a 50, 60 year time block, we've gotten more effective, more efficient, more consumable food in state versus importing, right? And then
we waste a whole lot less. We use fewer inputs and we do more with the same acreage. It's really remarkable the progress we've made.
So with all of the different things that can happen, where do you think the future is becoming? Are we trying to get a goal for 200 people? Or are we trying to just become better at what we're doing?
I think it's probably going to be a mixture of the two. I think that consumer demand is changing a little bit, especially in the wake of COVID, and people want a little different things. But there are still a lot of people whose primary concern is value, and so we're going to work really hard at being efficient still, and becoming even more so, and give people safe food that they can afford.
Well, and let's talk about the safe food and the affordability things. I know that there's some random survey out there because I feel like we're getting surveys all the time. But in a survey of food, where is the ranking of, the variety of food or imports versus exports type of a food? Where is that at with consumers?
So, country of origin labeling, for example, on meat products has been a pretty hot issue. The data shows that people are more concerned with the value of their food than they are its origin, and that may change in the wake of COVID. But up until that point, folks were first and foremost concerned about how much it costs, with the baseline being that they assume it's safe.
Well, and in a whole budget aspect of this, right? Anybody that spends more than 10%, I would say, just a random number, okay? If you're a small business owner and you're spending about 10% of your gross sales on insurance, that's normal to me, right? It's not high, it's not low, it's kind of normal to protect the asset that you've built. So 1/10, right? In a household version of that, it's in that 7, 8, 9% range-ish, right? Those would be normal to me of your gross salary, type things, depending on your assets and in so many calculations. And I'm not going to, quote insurance over the air because that's just impossible, let's be real. But in the hindsight of all of the food different things and the priority levels, I don't think people want to spend more than 30% of their budget or 40% of their budget on groceries.
You bet. And among developed countries, we spend some of the lowest amount of our income on food, and it affords us the opportunities to do all kinds of things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do. Vacations and trips and experiences and so on.
Well, and I want to say that and this might be a really old statistic, and I might be totally, in left field with this, but compared to second and third world countries, Americans spend, or people who live in the United States, they spend, a third of their time finding food, right? Grocery shopping, cooking it, eating it, consuming it, whatever, about a third of their time. In second and third world countries, I want to say that's around 60 to 80% just finding food to consume food.
Yeah, we've become really good at dividing labor, and farmers are super efficient. So, like my kids, for example, are like 60 times more likely to be software engineers than they are farmers. And it's because we can feed ourselves so handily that we have those sorts of opportunities. We're just really good at it.
Well, and at least to me in southern Utah, we also have the ability to get seeds and to get, from Burpee or other companies out there, right? But we can also do backyard farming, which also allows us the ability, because we have reliable water. We have reliable soil in most parts of the county. Yes, I know there's clay, guys, and it's really acidic in some parts, but for the most part, you can get a bag of potting soil and some seeds and grow a mini garden.
You bet. And what's really cool about that is it leaves opportunities. I mean, as easily as we feed ourselves, we have the luxury of being able to grow things that we might want, for example, that we can get in the grocery store. Likewise, it creates opportunities for small niche farmers who want to provide those heirloom products, for example, or even organic products. The fact that as a whole our civilization can feed itself makes us really comfortable, and it gives us opportunities to grow and eat stuff in our backyard.
So, riddle me this. You do have a farm, don't you?
I do.
Do you do farm stand stuff?
We used to. We had a really great employee, and we were happy for her to move on to bigger and better things, but when she left, it left a big hole. So we don't do any sort of farmers markets anymore.
But with Cornfest coming up, I'm sure there's some super good opportunities out in Enterprise for everybody to get sweet corn grown in that area, right?
You bet. There will be a number of vendors selling sweet corn at the Cornfest itself and on Main Street. You won't be able to miss it.
Oh, I love sweet corn. Okay, let's bring it back. Where is the state of Utah going within all of its agriculture? In prior shows and in prior episodes of Wired Wednesday, we've discussed the reliability of Utah as a whole in and of itself to take care of itself, basically. The only things we don't really grow very well are citrus things and sugarcane.
Yeah, I think we if I recall, we grow about 10% of our vegetable needs, but well over 100% of our protein needs are produced here in Utah. We haven't, up until about a year ago, had a real master plan for the direction Utah agriculture is going, but the Department of Agriculture and Food and Utah Farm Bureau are both working pretty hard on making good plans for how to best use our resources going forward, how to provide for Utahns.
Well, and I'm really excited for that because anytime there's a conflict, there's typically some type of a resolution, but what it really does is it creates friction, which typically, friction's not always good, but typically it creates synergy between what is happening, and you end up getting more or better products than you would have otherwise gotten had you not had the conflict and the resolution.
Well, you bet. I think that COVID created an opportunity for us to do a little bit of correcting, and I think we'll probably see going forward, we hope, some regulatory reform on meat processing facilities that will allow smaller facilities to exist and be profitable, and so we can do a lot more of that here in state.
Well, and we've talked about meat processors on the show
I was going to say,
before.
let's get to the important thing. How much of our own bacon do we produce? And it's not enough, whatever it is.
Well, and bacon's a really hot controversy right now just because of what's going on in Beaver County and really the northwest part of Iron County. More pig barns are actually in Iron County than there are in Beaver County.
Right.
But that's going through an entire corporate restructure that has nothing to do with southern Utah other than it's in southern Utah. my hearts go out to the families that have been affected with that. My own family has been directly affected by that. With all of the different developments and changes, we look at all the big corporations in LA and Frisco and Denver, and they go through some dynamic shifts sometimes. It's Southern Utah's area, or right now it's Southern Utah's turn to go through a pretty dynamic shift, which is painful. It's not easy by any means, and I'm not trying to discount what is going on, but from what I understand of the situation, it has nothing to specifically do with Southern Utah other than a company made a decision to make sure that their company survived, in the changing and in the wake of COVID and all the different restructuring things that have to happen. I do know that as a part of agriculture being in Utah, a lot of powers that be will you, right? No idea who the powers that be, but logically there's a conflict, there's a resolution, there's synergy, there's friction being created right now that will either bring something back, or bring Smithfield or some type of pork product back because we're really set up for that. Or maybe they go into turkey barns, or maybe they go into chicken houses. I don't know, but I know that the synergy that's created with conflict and resolution typically becomes better than what we did have.
Yeah, my heart goes out to all those guys, all those hog farmers, and because hog farmers have been great partners for the state of Utah, great for our community. And maybe it's a painful optimist in me, but I hope that there's a light at the end of that tunnel, however far away it is.
It would seem, I've seen it time and time and time again, where that infrastructure is in place and it might languish for a bit, but someone's going to look at that and say, we need to use that for something, and they'll find a way to do it.
Right, and that gives a whole nother opportunity, because if another business comes in, and I mean right now, especially in the last 10 years, entrepreneurs and people are like, well, why not do this? Instead of we have to do this, have grown, tremendously within that, because you have people seeing the need, knowing that they need to be the ones to start it, and whether they just survive as a small business, small meaning under 50 million, everybody, not small meaning under $500.
Right.
Small business, there's so much opportunity for people right there to grasp an idea and go out and see if there's a market or there's a need for their specific product. It's really incredible. Again, going back to the different changes that have been spurred in the last, I'll say, 10 years. We had drastic administrative changes, right? At the president level, we've had administrative changes here in the state of Utah. We've had local administrative changes. We've had different ebbs and flows of what that means, community leaders coming in and out of those things. But we always want to take one to criticize, like, how dare they not do this when they've done so much? And it's really incredible if you step back. Do you want to be that person? Somebody asked me once upon a time if I would ever run for office. And I said, HE double hockey sticks. Wow, it's been a long time. No, because I don't.
We would actually just say hell no.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I really did, because for what good I could do, right? Or what good Kyle could do, or what good Tim could do, right? It will always be criticized, and how dare you not do enough? But other people aren't willing to step up to those plates. And that's, it's kind of a bigger concept there, but, for the people that do get into public office, we're always one to criticize all the bad and never recognize any of the good. And that's just our society right now. We feed so much on the negativity.
Farmers are so, I think first, farmers are super resilient, Utahns in particular. And so I think they're as much as the growing pains will hurt, something positive will probably come out of that dynamic. I also think along those lines of people stepping up and running for office, farmers are the perfect candidates in my opinion, because we don't outsource responsibility. And when we see a fallow field, for example, we envision its future and what we can make out of it. And that's just the right kind of person you want to have leading our communities.
Let's go into a plant a seed type of analogy really quick, right? How long does it take to bring a fallow field back to full production? Does it happen in 2 months?
No. It's a long time, and multiple years, and you often have to reconcile with the fact that it doesn't grow as fast as you want it to, or it doesn't grow as well as you want it to. Some of those problems are my fault, for example, and poor decisions that I made that I have to take a step back and be accountable for. And farmers, for that reason, are the right kind of community leaders.
And it's
So
incredible.
you're announcing your candidacy today? Is that-
No, I ran for school board in 2014, and I didn't have a great time.
Well, and it's really incredible because, you know, producers are the core. Even if you're once or twice removed from producers in Iron County,
Right.
you know somebody in Iron County that does that. And they are the core of the county. They're the core of Southern Utah in all of the different conservancy efforts that they take in developing the land and making sure that the land's going to the fullest and best use without destroying it, because it's basically biting the hand they feed if they do that. Yeah.
Literally.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I am really bad this morning. Can't talk. So in all of the different agriculture.
So this would be the day to have you come over and run the board?
No,
Oh, okay.
no. The board is. We've already talked about the board. I'm not cool enough to do
He's a
that.
friend of the board.
Little. It had
It's
like
nice.
400
Oh,
buttons on it. Anyways, sorry for those listeners. Tim is teasing me about running the. I can't even think of what it's called.
Control board.
The control board at the radio station. Anyway, so Kyle, in Iron and Washington County, what are our number one crop producing activities that are here right now?
We grow forage for livestock. That's the number one product that we do, and different variations of it, different types of grass and grain, hay and alfalfa, and we grow some corn also.
So we're talking triticale.
Yeah, triticale. So
Triticale.
triticale is a hybrid
Alfalfa.
between wheat, which is triticum, the genus that wheat belongs to, and sicale, which is rye. So you put those two together, and it makes a really tall grain, and it's great for hay.
So then we do alfalfa, and we also grow, sheep in some regard, and we grow beef cattle. And there's a bison farmer out in Burl that we've had on the radio show before. Are there any other fun little niches in Southern Utah that we have?
Yeah, there's a ton. Agritourism is becoming increasingly popular, and
The Staley Farms, their big corn maze is coming up.
there you go. There's lots of stuff for folks to do and go out and see and experience Southern Utah agriculture. And even if it's not an agritourism facility, if it's something that you want to go see, you want to take a look at, the farmer is generally happy to oblige, so long as you knock on the door and ask first.
Yes, right. It's a knock on the door. Develop a relationship. Handshake. Handshakes are no longer bad energy. They're very good energy, guys. We can handshake again. Fist bump, elbow, handshake. I'll wrap it up.
Sure.
Oh man, Tim. With the different.
Tell me when I did not shake hands.
From like March of 2020. I even came and did the radio show in 2020.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Tell me when I didn't shake hands.
You were a
Oh, yes.
stalwart handshaker.
Well,
Yes.
Yep.
You were breaking the mold right there. Okay, in our final 1.5 minutes, Kyle, what do you want to make sure Southern Utah knows?
That farmers are good folks, and they have the interest of meeting the needs of the consumers in mind almost all the time. Whatever folks want / need and ask for, farmers are happy to produce to meet those needs. And so if you want something different, then we need to ask for something different. If you don't, then we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Right. I completely agree. And if you don't ask, you never know, and you never know the answers
Well,
to it.
my wants are the same.
Rachel and the aliens.
Well, I mean, there's that. No, I mean, as far as food, my wants.
Bacon.
Yes.
Oh man, I started making Dutch oven bread out of this homesteading cookbook. I'll share it in the links. But one of my friend's sisters wrote this book, and she lives up in Montana. And there's Dutch oven bread with like 3 ingredients.
That sounds ridiculous. That sounds so good.
It's so good. Like, not complicated, hard crusted, really good for dipping in balsamic vinegar on like my fancy pinky nights. It all works out. Thank you guys for joining us for Wired Wednesday. This is your host, McKinnon Hansen. I'm also your local Farm Bureau financial agent, serving Southern Utah with commercial farm and ag products, life succession planning, and home and auto needs. My number is 435-592-2021. Kyle, thank you so much for coming into town and joining us. You are a wealth of knowledge of all of the different things that you do out there in the community. Thank you for fighting the good fight and serving for this community.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys,
I
for
think
having
the
me.
most disturbing part of the show is that we have to find out when your pinky times are.
Wine Wednesday.
Oh, of course. So after Wired Wednesday, we go to Wine Wednesday?
No. It has to be water until at least 3:30.
Oh.
Because
We
then
have
it's
standards.
at least it's 5 somewhere in the United States at 3:30.
All right. All right.
Thank you so
Tim.
much.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that.